Hello and welcome to this video. If you're planning on moving to Paris, you are in the right place, because I have moved in and out of Paris for the last 5 years a bunch of times, so I feel like I do know my way around finding a flat, meeting new people, discovering new places, like how you do the paperwork, how you budget. So I mean, if you're interested in to move into Paris, whether it's, you know, like a few weeks to a month or 6 months, a year, whatever, I think this video could be very helpful, just for, you know, practical things. I'm gonna get straight into it because I already filmed it yesterday and I took half an hour filming, and I was like, nobody's here for 30 minutes. I'm gonna make it short and sweet. I'm gonna give you only the important things you have to know. And yeah, by the way, if you don't know me, I'm Elise. I'm French, English. Right now I'm in London for a few months, but I grew up in France and I studied in Paris, so I've literally spent 4 years, 4 or 5 years? No, 4 years there. So there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna divide this video in 5 parts. First, I'm gonna do accommodation because I feel like that's what people ask me the most on Instagram, and I do feel like to move to Paris, that's like the one most complicated thing to do, but I'll give you tips. You'll be doing great. It's not like it's hard, but once you know kind of how to go about it, you'll be fine. I'm also going to talk about budget, like how much it costs to spend a month or a week in Paris. I'm gonna talk about how you can go to Paris. So not everybody has the budget, and I've traveled quite a few times without a budget, literally just, you know, either working, internships, doing like random stuff. I'm gonna give you loads of tips on how you can like find, you know, things to do to be able to afford traveling but still be fun. You know, we're here for fun. I'm not gonna tell you work in a fucking office, you know. I mean, unless that's what you want to do, but you know what I'm saying. I'm talking holiday jobs kind of. I'm gonna talk about the people, their reputation, like the Parisians, and how they are, and my opinion on it, because I lived there for 4 years. And there's the cliche and there's the reality. I'm going to talk about if it's true or not, blah, blah, blah. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about like things to do. I'm not really going to give you like amazing addresses to go to, but mostly like if you're going to Paris alone, I just want to reassure you on the fact that you're not going to be super bored for a month. Like, there are things that you can do, things you can do to meet people, things you can do alone. I'm just gonna, you know, if you're thinking what am I going to do during my days, I'm going to give you an insight on what you could potentially do. So let's get straight into it with the accommodation. So accommodation, I think, for finding a flat in Paris, it is quite complicated, I can't lie, but my best tips are: 1, Facebook groups, because that's free. Facebook groups like Flats in Paris, Flat Share, Room Share in Paris, Apartment in Paris. Just add yourself to all of those groups and post something saying, I'm coming to Paris from the blah 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 to the blah blah blah. I'm looking for a €700 budget flat in central Paris, whatever, something like that. And also go through what has already been posted, so you can actually see an offer that corresponds to what you're looking for. A normal price would be like for a 20 square meter, because flats are quite small in Paris. For 20 square meters, consider maybe 700 to 800 euros. That's about normal. I try not to pay more than that for a small flat. Yeah, other ways to find a flat. So if you don't find it on Facebook, you can go on Le Bon Coin, which is also like somewhere where people will post about flats to rent. You can, but what I did and what is the safest bet is to go through an estate agent. It sounds so obvious, but obviously you'd have to pay, and I'm not saying go to an estate agent if you're only staying a month. You'll go to an estate agent if you're staying like 6 months to a year, because that's when you actually want to find, like, you know, somewhere that really corresponds to you, that you can settle in, and you're going to pay agency fees, which will be like a rent. Are you going? Anyways, so I went through an estate agent and they'll find you a flat in like 2 or 3 days. So that's amazing. That's like, if you arrive there and you've been searching on Facebook, on the internet, you cannot find a flat, and you're just like, okay, I need to find somewhere, just go through an agency. if you have the budget. Oh yeah, very, very important piece of advice for those who are staying slightly longer term, meaning a few months to a year or more. You must say you're staying a year or more, okay? Because nobody's ever going to give you a flat in Paris if you say you're staying less than a year. Like if you say, yeah, I'm just here 6 months, no, they're never going to give you a flat because there's a high competition between renters. Like there are way too many people and too little flats, so don't do that. They're obviously going to give it to like somebody who's actually there to settle. So you just say you're here long term, or you don't mention it. You'll hand in your notice. Like if your flat has furniture in it, it's 1 month notice, which is fine. So you'll just hand in your notice. You're not going to break their heart. They'll get over it and find somebody else very quickly. And if it has no furniture, which would be quite surprising to move to Paris for only a couple of months and have no furniture, but if it has no furniture, it's 3 months. So there you go, moving on. Okay, now for the budget. I'm gonna give you my budget in Paris for a month and its equivalent for a week. So for a month, if you consider your flat is maybe 750, I'm talking in euros, plus so the metro, if you wanted unlimited and you're a student, or like under 25, I don't know if it's, I know if you're a student it's the Imagine Air, which is 38 euros a month, but maybe also if you're under 25, I'm not sure. But anyways, let's consider your student. So 38 euros for unlimited metro and RER and buses. And let's consider in a month you're gonna, you know, you're on holidays, you're gonna go shopping a bit, you're gonna eat in a restaurant, you're gonna blah, blah, blah. It'll probably be about 500 euros because that's about what I'd spend, and I don't think I was like overly spending, but I would enjoy my time in Paris. Is that all I have to consider? Okay. That would be an equivalent of just under 1,300. That would be your budget for a month. Obviously it'll be a bit more if you're traveling from and to Paris. So in a week that would be about 330 euros. So that's decent, isn't it? That's really not a lot, is it? But I guess it all depends on what you're doing. Like if you're in Paris, you probably want to go shopping more. I don't know. There are good thrift stores, by the way, so it shouldn't be too expensive. Okay, now third part of the video. How can you go to Paris if you don't actually have a big budget? So either you can go and do an internship. If you do an internship, you'll have to stay like a few months, and you can only do an internship if you're a student, I think, or like part of a uni for them to give you the, you know, admin to sign, because you can't just rock up and be like, yeah, I can be an intern. I mean, not legally. And you'll be paid as an intern around 500 euros a month if you do more than 2 months. So make sure you do more than 2 months, because if you do under, they cannot pay you. Make sure it's even like 2 months and 2 days. Yeah, you can do an internship and be paid. Obviously you could work in like a restaurant or something and be paid, but I think if you don't speak French it might be difficult. The best way for me to travel and, you know, work is through Workaway. So it's this app, I'm always talking about it, Workaway. I don't right now have an account, so I can't really show you because you have to pay 50 euros a year to have an account, and I'm not using it this year, so I just didn't want to pay it. But basically what it is a website where you see loads of posts that hosts posts, and it's like, yeah, looking for somebody to babysit my kids from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. every night, plus cook dinner, and they'll be, you know, you can sleep here and you'll be fed for free. It's just stuff like that. So if you don't have the money to like buy too much food and to have accommodation, you can do Workaway. Basically the goal of the app is for people to travel and meet new people and share language skills, etc. But there's no money flow. I used it last summer to go to Spain. I was a kayak guide. It's so random. Watch my videos about talking about that experience because it was quite amazing, you know. But anyways, I was paid because in the filters of the app you can say like if you want to do, you know, like work on a farm or like babysitting or cooking or language lessons. You can say what kind of things you're interested in, and you can also say if you want to be paid or not. Like obviously if you're paid, they probably won't let you sleep at their place because that's why they're paying you, but you can have both. I had both. Literally just you know, nothing's really official. You just talk to people. Be careful, you know, don't go with like a lonely man to teach him Spanish or something. Like, I mean, you do you, but like I wouldn't do that safety wise. I went with a company, yeah, this travel bar thing. They were doing loads of different random shit. I mean, I'm the one talking about safety. I really recommend you watch that video where I talk about my experience, because it was hectic. I'm here safe and sound now, but you know, traveling, you have to be very aware of where you're going and who you're hanging out with, okay? But that being said, I do feel like Paris is kind of a safe place. Touch wood, I don't want to jinx anything for anyone. Still be, you know, aware, but I think you can use that app in Paris if it's like, you know, a family and you just bring the kids to and from school or whatever. Anyways, that's a great way of doing it. Yeah, also you can do like flat shares. I don't know which apps you can use to do that. I've never looked into it really. I mean, I did, but I've never like actually done it. But there are always flat shares, so I don't know if you have a flat in a city that you could share to the person whom you're taking the flat. Does that make sense? You know, like for instance, I couldn't really do that because I'm like subletting. I don't know, you know, you can't always do it, but or like dog sitting. Some people go on holidays and they want you to just be with their dog for a week or something. Anyways, there are many ways. Look on the internet. Now let's talk about the Parisians and my opinion on them and their reputation. So you surely know what reputation Parisians have. It's like super grumpy and stressed and rude. And it's true. I can't lie, it is true. Now, I'm not saying they're bad people at all. Most of my best friends are, well, French, but also Parisians. Because French people are like that also, but Parisians, they take it the next level. And I think especially as a foreigner, it can be really intimidating. Like, I'm French, I speak French, I grew up in France, so I had less of it, but still, like, I wasn't a Parisian, so when I arrived in Paris I still had that kind of culture shock, because I grew up in the countryside where everybody is just so nice and everybody knows everybody, and you know, we're family. When I arrived in Paris, I was kind of like, oh my god, why is everybody so mean to me? Like, I would smile at people on the streets or say hi, which is a ridiculous thing to do in a city, because obviously people don't have the time to say hi, but in the countryside we used to do that and everybody used to know everybody, so you would be polite. Anyways, and then I got bash after bash after bash, and then I was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna become grumpy also. And I would say I have become slightly Parisian in a sense, because you gotta eat Paris or it'll eat you kind of thing. But okay, my advice to survive the Parisian mentality is, one, go in summer because everybody's way happier, or socialize with Parisians when they're drunk, because that does help. Also, do not stop being positive, do not stop smiling, just don't, because I did, because I felt like embarrassed and my ego was like, what if you're not smiling at me, I'm not gonna smile at you, which is a natural thing. But I do think if you start assuming people are going to be negative with you and then you're negative with them, you're just full of negativity overall. You might as well just, you know, be a happy city foreigner. That sounded, but you know what I'm saying, like just stay happy if that's the way you are. Continue talking to strangers in shops easily if that's what you used to do wherever you're from. Just accept that they're not going to respond in a very friendly way, probably at first, but when you get to know them, Parisians, like the way friendship works is very different from the UK or America, and that's why people are quite surprised, is that in France, and especially in Paris, we don't make friends like that. You won't just meet somebody and talk to them and invite them to a party like you would abroad, like abroad for French people. When we have friends in Paris, and when you actually make a friend, it's a friend for life, and it's your brother, it's your family. It's like we become very, very loyal friendship wise. There's no in and out of friendship like that. Like, I watch Made in Chelsea in the UK. If you know it, it's like reality TV, but it's not like people on an island or whatever. It's like people in real life. You follow their real life. they go in and out of friendships so easily for one issue. Like, there's one thing that happens between two people, they'll be like, yeah, we can't be friends anymore. It's like, how many friends do you have to be able to afford just saying you're not my friend anymore every other month? Like, what the fuck? In France, if you have a friend, you're gonna power through all the issues until you fucking die, because they're gonna be your friends forever, and that's beautiful. But that's why it's complicated to make friends in Paris. That being said, here are things you can do in Paris that will enable you to, 1, discover the city, 2, not be bored, 3, potentially meet people. So for 1, like on a day-to-day basis, it's nice, you know, like go to cafes. There are so many amazing cafes around Paris if you're like vegan and stuff. They don't all have oat milk for sure, but there are some who have. Just Google it. There are loads of nice ones, especially in Le Marais. And then go, you know, see all the sites, see the museums, because they are as nice as you'd expect. Go to restaurants, because that's a big part of the culture, and if you don't have too much money, just go to a boulangerie, because the food is as good, and it's like, I don't know, €2 for like a patisserie, croissant, whatever. I mean, a croissant will be less than €2, but anyways, it's not expensive. And then if you want to meet people in Paris, well, you know, maybe try to do a sport. It sounds so random, but like do yoga or go to like drawing lessons or do an activity, because I think it'll be very hard to meet people any other way. Even if you go to museums and stuff, like as I said, Parisians, they're not always, it depends which Parisian obviously and where they're from and probably their social status and stuff, but they're not always the most easy people to speak with. So maybe find an activity where you have to speak to them. I mean, as soon as you meet 1 or 2 people, they'll probably show you to all their friends, and you can go clubbing or go for bicycle rides or whatever you want to do in Paris. I guess, oh my god, I really tried to make it short. I hope it's short enough. That was my guide on how to move to Paris, whether it's short or long term. I do really hope this is helpful and that you have a lovely time in Paris, because it is a lovely city. Anyways, if you want more like travel tips, etc., follow me on Instagram and follow me on YouTube, because I'm gonna start posting way more about actually traveling, because I feel like that's what I know the most. I might as well take advantage of it and help people, you know, travel and adventure with no money. Anyways, have a good day.